Hello, everybody. More than 1,000 media jobs lost in one day. I just woke up. How are you doing? You also might notice that down here in the corner, let me try and find it right there, I got a little light bulb. That's the Minds symbol, minds.com. I used to have the Twitter symbol because I was so active on Twitter, but the other night, full disclosure, I just purged, I think like 18,000 tweets from my account. I only got rid of things that didn't have media in them because I've done a lot of journalism through my Twitter account, and so although there is going to be a loss of a lot of context, I didn't want to purge all of the videos and photos and everything, but there's a reason I did it. It's because Twitter is a trash website. It's awful, and I am only half joking when I say it shouldn't exist. I get it, Twitter is good for a lot of things, but what we saw with Covington Gate shows us just how awful journalism has become, and this is why I am not shocked, nor will I shed a tear for many of these lost jobs. Now, let me just say, I do like BuzzFeed. I do. And a lot of people yell at me all the time. I get comments where they're like, BuzzFeed's terrible. No, I'm not saying BuzzFeed is, like, I'm not saying they're the best. I'm not saying they're good. I'm just saying, plain and simple, there's one reason why I like BuzzFeed. Do I think they get things wrong? Absolutely. Did they get Covington wrong? They sure did, as did most other outlets. That's a problem. What's the point of having a media service if you can't get the job done, if you can't do it right? However, when it comes to fake news, when it came to Antifa versus the Proud Boys in New York, BuzzFeed, though it was biased, still reported that Antifa beat and robbed a guy. Most outlets covering the story ignored that. In fact, based on the lead of the story, that it was about the main brawl, BuzzFeed didn't need to include that 2 blocks away this happened. They put that in there, which is important context, which, in my opinion, it was more fair to say, like, listen, we know there was a brawl, we know it was between Antifa and the Proud Boys, keep in mind, Antifa beat and robbed a guy over here. While they were still biased against the Proud Boys, don't get me wrong, I appreciated that, but more importantly, there's one thing, and it's that, I've said this time and time again, but seriously, when I message people from BuzzFeed, they respond. They do. When I say, like, hey, I've got an issue with the way you framed this, they'll say, here's what we're thinking and here's why we think it, and I'll say, yeah, they're biased. But seriously, at a time when many people on the left refuse to engage, refuse to talk, and BuzzFeed is willing to talk and engage and try and explain their thought process, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, Sam Cedar did a video about the Covington thing, and it's he put it up yesterday, the 24th, it's 4 days after the story broke, and he still gets all his facts wrong. It's like, come on, man. Anyway, let's read through this story. It's from Axios. The media industry's current round of cuts and consolidation is accelerating sizable layoffs at BuzzFeed, Gannett, and Verizon Media. AOL, Yahoo, and Huffington Post, and others were announced Wednesday, totaling over 1,000 jobs cut. Now, I did cover this on my main channel yesterday at 4 p.m. I'm doing this as kind of an update because one of the big focuses of the video I did was that BuzzFeed has resorted to selling cookware. I actually think it's a clever idea, but it's hilariously not a media enterprise. Don't get me wrong, selling merch can be lucrative. I don't make that much. I sell merch. It's in the description. You can buy some shirts. I don't make that much money doing it. Actually, I'll say this right now, too. If you want to design some shirts and send them my way to tim@tagg.ly, like, if you have designs, you can just send them, and then we can work something out. If I sell them, I can, cut you in or whatever. I don't know. We'll figure out the business stuff. The point is, I sell shirts, okay? Don't make that much money doing it. BuzzFeed has 2 brands. They have their Goodful brand, and they have their Tasty. Basically, the Tasty brand, it's just like their videos say Tasty after it, like, shows a recipe, and they go viral often. So you go to Walmart, you're walking down the aisles, and you'll see Tasty, spatulas and stuff. Literally nothing to do with what BuzzFeed is as a company, but it's kind of like, in my opinion, if, like, Fox News sold their own brand of, I don't know, not clothing. Like, clothing, obviously, is always a good marketing tactic for any company. But cookware is very different, right? After you pull that label off and put your spatula and your little spatula holder, whatever it is, some people have magnets on the wall or something, yeah, you can't tell who made it anymore. I mean, granted, the little Tasty thing is embedded in the rubber or the silicone. The point is, it's one thing when, like, Fox News sells a hat, or, like, BuzzFeed sells a hat that says Fox News on it, because then you're basically promoting that brand. You're showing people you like it. It's another thing if Fox News made, like, I don't know, toilet cleaner. You'd be like, why would I buy this brand of toilet cleaner? It doesn't make sense. And now one thing, too, it's like, it's another thing when a company does a lead deal, like selling leads. So affiliate links and things like that. I have sponsors on this channel where I'll be like, hey, before we get, or I'm not on my main channel, where I'll say, before we get started, go and check out my sponsor. And that's normal. You see that all the time. In terms of articles, they'll do something similar, and I actually think it doesn't work too well. right? If someone wrote a news story about like Roger Stone getting arrested, which maybe I'll cover later, and then they at the top said, this is an important time to point out the very important flashlights you might need. Like, click here. Like, that'd be a little weird, you know? But they do independent articles. They'll write a whole article specifically just being like, these flashlights are great. But anyway, let's read on. The point I'm ranting on this video, but the point of this video is to talk about the purging of the media, and I kind of lost the point. But anyway, Verizon Media will cut 800 jobs. So we're seeing the entire opinion section of Huffington Post gone. The entire opinion section. I tweeted about this yesterday. I saw a tweet from someone that said, real journalists don't mock journalists when they lose their job. And it's like, oh, the gatekeeper telling us who the real journalists are. So I countered with my own real journalist statement. And then a lot of people said the same thing to me. But I was making a point. Listen, you're an opinion writer. Okay? You barely qualify as a journalist. This channel you're watching right now barely qualifies as journalism in the same capacity. I don't hold this channel in any high regard or esteem compared to the opinion section of Huffington Post. I don't. This is literally just me turning the camera on and rambling about random things half the time. Okay? I get it. However, my main channel has a lot more work. Like when it came to the MAGA kids, I did a lot of research and put things together, and it is difficult. And I do often do interviews and on-the-ground stuff, though I've done a lot more, you know, internet deep dive stuff. The point I'm trying to make is, yes, if a friend of mine who, or I'm sorry, if there was a journalist who lost their job and they did real investigative work, I would be sad. And that would be upsetting. And so there's a lot of people at BuzzFeed News. I actually am upset to hear that they're going to be losing their jobs, because BuzzFeed News does reporting. I'm not saying it's unbiased. I think they have a left-leaning bias, but as I mentioned earlier, they're willing to communicate, and so I can respect that. Huffington Post's op-ed section. Okay, you're writing what you think about things. Okay, listen. Is it going to be a huge blow to journalism if this channel got shut down? No, it wouldn't. The only thing you really get from this channel is Tim Pool thinks about stuff, okay? I don't think that what you're watching right now is somehow like the most important work I've ever done, or in any way going to save or benefit or protect democracy. And we now have people tweeting things like, when news businesses don't thrive, when journalism doesn't thrive, neither does democracy. I'm like, how did we get to the point where the opinion section of Huffington Post, where a bunch of millennials complaining about, I don't know, the Brad Pitt's junk or whatever, or their perspective on policy, mattered to a healthy democracy? Okay, what matters to a healthy democracy is legitimate fact-finding, trying to make sure people are informed. Does Huffington Post do that? Sometimes. I'm not saying everything they do is bad. In fact, I will say this. When it came to reporting on what happened with my trip to Sweden, Huffington Post actually had one of the best articles about it, where they actually got it straight up right. Okay? A lot of outlets were saying, you know, Tim Pool is going to Sweden because Paul Joseph Watson challenged him to do so. It's like, no, wait. I was already planning on going to Sweden. I made a video about it. I made a GoFundMe, and then I saw Paul's announcement. I don't know who posted what first, but it was after I'd already had this stuff done that I said, oh, hey, you know, I'll accept this, but I'm already doing it. Huffington Post acknowledged that independent from Paul, I was planning this trip, and it makes sense when you know my history, right? Trump made a statement, I went to go do it, so I'll give him credit in that department. But are we going to sit here and pretend like the opinion writers for the Huffington Post are like the bastions of great journalism? Woodward and Bernstein, 2019, losing their jobs off the opinion section of Huffington Post. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going to shed a tear for you. Yes, it's unfortunate you're losing your job. I will empathize with anybody who is being laid off. My understanding is that they're in a union, however, and they're going to get a severance package, so that should be a nice little parachute to help you, you know, move on from here. And beyond that, I do believe you can apply for unemployment benefits because the media landscape is collapsing. But now to the final point of this video. I'm not necessarily going to read through, but, you know, I think we covered a lot of the stuff already, but Neiman Lab tweeted something out about BuzzFeed's layoffs, saying that we're at a time of unprecedented economic growth, low unemployment rates. Everything is great. Why? Why are these companies laying people off? I'll tell you why. First, in my opinion, the way I framed it is lazy rage bait farms, okay? I don't apply that to BuzzFeed, that saying. And you can, by all means, it's your opinion. I read news all day, every day, nonstop, and I have found that BuzzFeed tends to be much, much better than most of these other outlets. Don't get me wrong. BuzzFeed.com produces listicle nonsense and social justice rage bait too. But I really do put BuzzFeed leaps and bounds. Like, Vox is awful. Vox is terrible. Vox just like, and the Daily Beast, man, oh look, it's not hard to be great when Vox and the Daily Beast are your competition. But anyway, Vox and the Daily Beast are rage bait, lazy rage bait farms, in my opinion. They don't do a lot of research. They just crank out nonsense. Look what happened with Covington. Everyone got it wrong. That was lazy rage bait, okay? It's not good journalism. What happens is, the internet incentivizes this rage bait because rage makes people click things. Like, I'm so angry, I'm going to click it, right? There's actually a hierarchy of the likelihood. Justice is a really big motivator for clicking content. So that's why social justice became so prominent. There was a period where there's a subreddit, Justice Served, where it's like you watch people do something bad and then get their comeuppance. And that's why social justice has been so, like, prominent. For one, you know, unarmed black men being killed makes everybody angry. And then for two, the justice that follows makes everybody feel good and laugh. But then when you hear about, like, a cop getting away with something, it makes everybody angry. I'm not saying these happen extremely often. That's one of the things that starts to happen when when the rage bait gets pumped out. What they do is they'll highlight one story, like what we saw with that, Sean King and the Young Turks pumped out that story about a white man killing a little girl who happened to be black. It blows up. Even though the stuff's exceedingly rare, and then it turns out it wasn't even true. That's why they do it. They're lazy rage bait farms. They're not great journalism. So the point I'm trying to make before I wrap up here, what do people want? People want to understand. Now, there's a lot of people who want to weaponize their worldview. Those people aren't going to change. But the average person doesn't care so much, and they actually get frustrated by constantly hearing the same thing. So as BuzzFeed and Vox and these other companies keep pushing towards trying to latch on to the latest, viral sensation, they leave a hole in the center for moderate, reasonable discussion. And that's why Quillette is doing really well. That's why the intellectual dark web is doing really well. It's why I'm doing really well. It's what's going to happen, So people who don't watch my videos like to claim that all of my videos are pandering to conservatives. And it's really funny because I'm like, the conservatives who watch my channel, I get emails all day where they're like, I really disagree with you on this one, but I appreciate you trying to be fair. And I'm like, yeah. And when it comes to policy, when it comes to, like, I just defended BuzzFeed. How many times did I defend BuzzFeed in the last week? And then they want to claim that I'm somehow mocking them. No, I sent a message to BuzzFeed. Some people I know, they're saying, like, I'm really sorry to hear about this. You're one of the few outlets that I actually like. So, I hope you guys can pull through. And I mean that sincerely. I really do. Again, I'm going to preface that with, I don't think they're perfect. I really don't. But I appreciate that they're willing to talk to me about things because so few people are willing to actually have their ideas challenged. And so ultimately, I don't mind if there's biased outlets. I don't mind Fox News. I don't mind CNN. I only care that they're willing to correct things when they're wrong, and many times they aren't. And that's one of the big problems. And then you really do get some YouTubers, like I'm going to call out Sam Cedar right now for this because he published a video yesterday, the 24th, where he called Nathan Phillips a Vietnam veteran, the Native American from, come on, man. There's no excuse to have that fact completely incorrect 4 days after the fact, right? They've surfaced a video of Phillips saying he is, and it is now reported, corrected by Washington Post and many others, he is not. Like, these facts are out there. And I don't understand. I'll tell you why it's easy to be right. Like, Cernovich tweeted something saying, I've never seen Tim Pool get a big story wrong. Sure. I have been wrong on some stories, for sure. Most of the time, I do just follow. What I'll do is, like, I'll read BuzzFeed, I'll read CNN, I'll read Fox News, and I'll try and figure out what makes the most sense based on the different biases we see. But for the most part, I just don't jump the gun. When the story broke about the Covington kids, I didn't just immediately publish, like, oh, I hate these kids, rawr. No, I looked around and said, what really happened? I don't see anything. And then I found some videos and said, this is what it looks like. Plain and simple. So anyway, this video's gone on too long. I could ramble forever. I'm going to have another video up at 1 p.m. Main channel video at 4 p.m. is going to be longer and, like, actually more, like, thought through, and I do a bit more digging and stuff. But I don't think we're facing a crisis in democracy because these companies are laying people off. I think this is an indication that they don't know what they're doing with their business. BuzzFeed is selling cookware. I think it's smart, but it's a totally different business than media, so whatever. But hey, if you can sell spatulas and it funds journalism, by all means, more power to you. Plain and simple, right? Selling t-shirts, not too dissimilar. But anyway, there you go. Massive layoffs in media. I think we're going to be fine. I'm not going to shed a tear for Huffington Post's opinion division because that's not in any way, like, important journalism. Stick around. More videos later today, and I'll see you then.